Listen carefully, because this is not a small message. It is not something you should simply ignore. There is someone who is deeply connected to your heart. Right now, they are carrying a burden that has become much heavier than they can quietly handle on their own. It is affecting their thoughts. It is affecting their inner peace. Whether you fully realize it or not, it is also affecting you. Something is changing behind the scenes. Something real is unfolding in a quiet and unseen way. Even though you cannot fully see it yet, its presence can still be strongly felt. You may have already noticed it through small moments, unexpected thoughts that suddenly came into your mind, memories that appeared without warning, or strange heaviness that arrived for no clear reason. That feeling is not happening by accident. It is a signal. It is a sign that this connection is moving through an important time of change. So stay with this message, because what you are about to understand may explain what your heart has been quietly trying to process for a long time. Do not rush through these words. Do not push them aside too quickly. What is happening now could become a turning point in ways you cannot fully imagine yet. The person connected to your heart is carrying confusion, pressure, and emotions they can no longer completely hide from themselves. On the outside, they may still seem perfectly fine. They may continue living as they always have. They may keep themselves busy and speak as if everything in their life is completely under control. But deep inside, something is beginning to catch up with them. Thoughts they worked hard to avoid are slowly coming back. Emotions they buried deep inside are rising to the surface once again. This moment is not asking you to panic. It is asking for your attention, your patience, and your calm heart. What happens next is not something to fear. It is something that deserves understanding. There is a door inside them that has stayed closed for far too long. Now, life itself is gently but steadily pushing against that door. Your person is not only dealing with pressure from the outside world, the greater struggle is happening inside their own heart and mind. It is the battle between what feels safe and what feels true. For a long time, they tried to move forward without honestly facing certain emotions that never fully disappeared. They convinced themselves that staying busy would be enough. They believed that time alone would heal what they kept avoiding. They thought they could bury certain memories, silence certain emotions, and continue living as if nothing had happened. But some truths refuse to stay buried forever. Some emotions always find their way back to the surface. Some connections never lose their meaning simply because they have been ignored. They continue to exist quietly, even through distance and silence. That is exactly where they are now. Thoughts they once managed to escape are returning during the quiet moments at the end of long days. Feelings they worked so hard to ignore are becoming stronger inside them. Their heart is asking questions that their mind can no longer fully avoid. This creates distraction and emotional confusion that they struggle to explain even to themselves. One part of them longs for clarity. Another part is afraid of what real clarity might require. One part wants to move closer. Another part remembers old pain and pulls them back. If their energy has seemed mixed or inconsistent, this is the reason. If they appear close one day and distant the next, this is why. It is not always because they do not care. In many cases, it is because they care much more deeply than they know how to handle. When emotions become too strong and too complicated, people often step away, not because they feel nothing, but because they feel too much. Keep listening, because this matters more than it first appears. What they are experiencing is not empty confusion. It is not meaningless hesitation. It is pressure slowly building toward a moment they will no longer be able to avoid. Even though you cannot see everything happening on the outside, that does not mean nothing is changing. Some of the greatest changes in a person's life begin quietly in places where no one else can see them. Just as roots grow deep beneath the ground before a tree rises into view, and just as a strong foundation is built before a house stands tall, emotional growth often begins long before any visible action appears. Your person is living through that hidden stage right now. They are beginning to realize that what once felt comfortable no longer gives them true peace. The old distractions are slowly losing their strength. The things they once relied on to avoid their emotions are no longer working the way they used to. Silence now feels louder than it did before. Distractions have become weaker, and the emotions inside them are becoming harder to push away. Something much deeper within them is calling for honesty. Honesty always changes the path of a person's life, even when that change feels uncomfortable at first. The moment someone honestly sees what they have been avoiding, they can never fully go back to pretending everything is fine. Something inside them changes forever, even if that change happens little by little. That is why their restlessness has continued to grow. That is why the same thoughts keep returning over and over again. That is why this connection keeps coming back into their mind, even while they try to focus on other parts of life. You may have gone through something similar yourself. You may have noticed old memories returning without warning. You may have felt emotions rise unexpectedly without knowing why. You may have sensed that something between you and this person still feels unfinished. Do not completely ignore that feeling, but also do not let it steal your peace. There is movement taking place here. It is quiet movement, but it is real. When change begins inside a person, outward change usually follows with time, even if it does not happen right away. Growth within the heart often takes longer before it becomes visible through actions, conversations, and decisions. Right now, your role is not to force answers. It is not to chase clarity before the right moment arrives. It is not to create conclusions just to calm your uncertainty. Your role is to remain steady while everything unfolds naturally. That is real strength. Not loud strength, not emotional chaos, but quiet and peaceful strength. It is the kind of strength that stays calm even when emotions become intense. The kind that does not fall apart because answers take longer than expected. The kind that refuses to let fear decide the ending before the full truth has had the chance to appear. This season is teaching both of you important lessons. While they are learning accountability, you are learning patience. While they are learning honesty, you are learning trust. While they are learning courage, you are learning emotional balance. These lessons are not easy, but they are building something much deeper inside you. Many people lose meaningful relationships not because those relationships were never real, but because they reacted too quickly during moments of uncertainty. They allowed fear to speak louder than wisdom. They made decisions while feeling confused and later wished they had waited. You are being gently guided away from repeating that same mistake. So, if your heart has been restless, allow yourself to slow down. If your thoughts have been racing with assumptions, step back from them for a while. If you have been tempted to expect the worst, pause for a moment and choose patience instead. This is not the season to destroy your peace through fear. This is the season to protect your peace while the truth slowly reveals itself in its own perfect time. And if these words are touching something deep inside you, stay with them a little longer, because there is still more happening beneath the surface. The truth is that your person is becoming tired of carrying unfinished emotions, tired of replaying old memories again and again inside their mind. They are tired of pretending that certain feelings no longer exist, tired of wondering what could have been, tired of carrying something inside themselves that was never completely resolved. This kind of emotional exhaustion matters. Sometimes reaching that point of deep tiredness becomes the very moment when avoidance finally stops working. A person can only ignore their feelings for so long before avoiding them becomes more painful than finally facing them. That is the place they are slowly moving toward. They may not fully understand it yet. They may still hesitate. They may continue moving back and forth between clarity and confusion. But something inside them is changing direction. The comfort they once held on to is beginning to feel less secure than the truth they have been trying so hard to avoid. When that shift truly begins, life can suddenly move much faster than anyone expects. A conversation that once seemed impossible can suddenly become possible. A truth that stayed hidden for so long can finally come to the surface. A guarded heart can slowly begin to open once again. So if everything has felt slow, do not assume it will stay that way forever. And if there has been distance between you, do not believe that distance must last forever. Some of life's greatest changes come after long seasons of silence. Some of the clearest truths appear only after long periods of emotional waiting. Your role right now is not to lose hope. Your role is to stay aware, remain steady, and keep your heart open enough to recognize when real changes begin to appear, not only in your emotions, but also in everyday life. There are also outside influences surrounding them, and not every influence is leading them in the right direction. Some voices encourage growth, honesty, and self-reflection. Other voices pull them back toward comfort and avoidance. Some situations are helping them think more deeply about their life. Others keep encouraging distractions so they never have to face what truly matters. This is one reason their energy may seem uncertain. Some days they feel clear, focused, and confident. Other days, they become unsure once again. At certain moments, they feel ready to face everything honestly, but then fear returns. Old wounds reopen, and hesitation takes control once more. Do not mistake that hesitation for a lack of love or emotion. Very often, hesitation comes from feeling too much all at once and not knowing how to carry those emotions in a healthy way. They are struggling with being vulnerable. They are struggling with emotional growth. They are struggling with the question of what life will look like after the truth is finally spoken. That fear is real, but it will not remain stronger than the truth forever. Sooner or later, the truth becomes louder than fear. And when that moment finally arrives, everything begins to change in ways that become impossible to ignore. You may start noticing small signs at first, a change in their tone, a softer reply, a moment of honesty that feels different than before, or a shift in their energy that seems more sincere. Pay attention to those small changes because they often matter much more than they first appear. Growth rarely happens perfectly. It usually does not happen all at once. Most of the time, it develops slowly, one step at a time, sometimes in ways that even feel awkward or uncertain. But even the smallest step forward is still progress. If you wait only for perfect results, you may miss the first signs of real transformation. At the same time, something meaningful is happening inside you as well. This season is not only changing them, it is also changing you. You are learning how to protect your peace without closing your heart. You are learning to trust your own understanding. Instead of always looking for reassurance from other people, you are learning how to stay calm even when answers take longer than expected. You are learning how to remain emotionally steady even when life feels uncertain. These are not easy lessons, but they are valuable ones that stay with you long after this chapter is over. So continue with patience. Keep your heart open without becoming overwhelmed. Keep your thoughts clear without allowing fear to take control. Allow time to do its work without trying to force results before they are ready. In the end, what is meant to become clear will reveal itself. These lessons matter because the next stage of this connection will require maturity from both of you. Not perfection, but maturity. The ability to listen without rushing to defend yourself. The ability to speak honestly without turning every fear into reality. The ability to pause, understand, and respond with care instead of reacting too quickly. The ability to choose truth over old habits that once quietly controlled emotions. Maybe a year ago, this situation would have affected you much more deeply than it does today. Perhaps back then, uncertainty would have quickly taken over your thoughts, and your emotions would have been pulled in every direction. But you are no longer the same person. Life has quietly shaped you in ways that are both gentle and powerful. The delays did not only test your patience, they also helped you grow. Disappointment did not only bring pain, it strengthened your ability to stand back up every time life knocked you down. Every difficult season gave you something valuable, even if you could not see it at the time. None of what you experienced was wasted. Every moment helped shape the person you are becoming. It prepared you for moments like this, where emotional stability matters more than emotional reaction. That kind of stability is rare. It develops slowly through experience, self-reflection, and personal growth. So, do not overlook your progress. Do not focus only on what still feels uncertain or unfinished. Instead, take a closer look at who you have become through everything you have faced. Notice how your reactions have changed. Notice how your heart no longer rushes into fear the way it once did. Notice how you are now able to sit with uncertainty without letting it break you inside. That inner strength will become important when the next part of this journey begins to unfold. And that next chapter may not begin in the dramatic way many people imagine. It may not arrive through huge confessions or emotional scenes. Instead, it may begin quietly, through a simple message, through a peaceful conversation, through a moment when silence begins to feel heavier than honesty. When that moment arrives, do not expect perfection. Expect sincerity instead. Expect real human emotion. Expect uncomfortable pauses, unfinished sentences, and truth that comes out little by little instead of all at once. Most people do not reveal everything in a single conversation. More often, they share what is in their heart, step by step, revealing small pieces that slowly create a much bigger picture. Sometimes the very first sign of change is not a dramatic confession. Sometimes it's simply that someone stops running away from their feelings. Even that small step carries great meaning, because when avoidance comes to an end, awareness begins. And when awareness begins, something within the situation starts moving forward. If that moment comes, do not listen only to the words being spoken. Listen to what lies beneath them. Pay attention to the emotion behind the message. Notice the courage it took to speak honestly. Notice the movement from silence toward expression. Notice how truth begins to appear where fear once controlled everything. This is important because real change often looks much gentler than people expect. It does not always arrive through confident or powerful words. Sometimes it comes through hesitation. If there's one final section, send it over and I'll keep the wording changes equally light so the entire script stays consistent. Sometimes it appears through imperfect honesty, through someone finally admitting something they have carried in their heart for a very long time but never had the courage to say out loud. That kind of honesty may seem small, but it has the power to change everything. So stay calm and remain wise. Do not let old fears cause you to misunderstand a new truth. This situation is still unfolding, even if parts of it continue to feel uncertain or still. Quiet changes are taking place behind the scenes, creating a new direction, even if you cannot fully see it yet. Even now, when it feels like nothing is happening, something is becoming clearer. Something is slowly falling into place for the next stage. When that change finally becomes visible, your emotional balance will matter more than anything else. It will help you respond with wisdom instead of panic. There is a reason this connection has felt heavier in recent days. There is a reason your intuition has become stronger. There is a reason certain memories, thoughts, and emotions continue returning without warning. None of these patterns are meaningless. They are part of a deeper process that calls for awareness instead of confusion. This season is not only about emotions, it is also about personal growth. It is about learning. It is about finally facing what has remained unresolved. The pressure you are feeling is not here to destroy what truly matters. Instead, it is revealing what is real and what can no longer stay hidden. Fear always pushes people toward quick reactions. It encourages assumptions. It wants protection at any cost. It wants you to close your heart before anything can hurt you again. But wisdom follows a different path. Wisdom asks you to stay grounded, observe carefully, and wait until the truth becomes clear instead of reacting to uncertainty. That difference matters now more than ever. What is happening is not only emotional, it is also a journey of deep personal growth for both of you. It is about becoming more self-aware. It is about recognizing patterns that have repeated for far too long. It is about learning healthier ways to respond to emotional truth. The pressure surrounding this connection is not meant to break it. It is revealing what is strong enough to last and what can no longer remain hidden. That is why emotions feel much closer to the surface. That is why even small moments seem more meaningful than usual. That is why silence sometimes feels heavy instead of empty. Beneath everything, growth is quietly taking place. Growth within you. Growth within them. Growth within the connection itself. Growth is rarely comfortable while it is happening. It does not always feel organized or predictable. Very often, it feels confusing before it finally begins to make sense. Clarity does not appear overnight. It develops little by little through choices, honest moments, and small changes in behavior and understanding. Step by step, everything begins to make more sense, even if you still cannot see the whole picture. Hold on to that truth, especially if waiting has left you feeling tired or uncertain about what comes next. The story is not over. It is still unfolding. What happens next will depend on decisions that have not yet been fully made. Their choices matter. Your choices matter. The decision to stop hiding emotions matters. The decision to speak honestly instead of making assumptions matters. The decision to welcome truth with openness instead of fear will shape what comes next. They are reaching a point where they must choose between remaining silent or finally facing what they truly feel. At the same time, you are reaching a point where you must decide whether fear will control your peace or whether wisdom will guide your response. That is why this moment matters so much. Not because everything has already been decided, but because something is becoming ready to change. This is not only about what they feel, it is also about who both of you are becoming through everything you have experienced. Strong connections are not proven during easy seasons. They are revealed during uncertain ones. They grow stronger when clarity takes time and emotions become complicated. If something is truly real, it does not disappear simply because the road becomes difficult. Instead, it is tested, refined, and either strengthened or released. If you have been wondering whether anything meaningful is happening, the answer is yes. Something important is taking place. Something deep is changing. Old silence is beginning to lose its power. Old resistance is becoming weaker. Old confusion is slowly starting to fall away. As those old barriers begin to break, something more honest can finally appear. Something clearer. Something more genuine than what existed before. When that truth begins to rise to the surface, your inner peace will help you respond with understanding instead of emotional overwhelm. Protect your heart, but do not make it hard. Stay open enough to recognize the truth while remaining steady enough not to lose yourself in uncertainty, because the next step in this story may arrive sooner than you expect. When it does, you will need clarity more than fear. Keep that close to your heart as you continue moving forward. The struggle they are facing will not last forever. The confusion will not remain forever. The waiting will not continue forever. Every season eventually changes, even the ones that seem slow, difficult, or heavy. Every experience teaches something at the right time. And no matter how this journey continues from here, you are already much more prepared than you were when it first began.